Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is a weekly update on my vegetable progress. Cool season vegetables actually went into the ground this week. There's one tray left here of lettuce that are going into bowls on my front porch. I'm going to get around to doing that tomorrow. Peppers that I did 2 weeks ago are up, and I'll show you those in just a second. And the tomatoes that were done last week have already germinated. So it's amazing how you can time these things where I know to put peppers in just 1 week before the tomatoes, and then they end up about the same exact size over time. I'm gonna wait 2 more weeks to seed the cucumbers, squash, zucchini, any kind of bean. Those things only take about 3 weeks, and I can germinate them in here, get them up about 3 weeks. I don't have to fertilize them if it's within now like a 3-week window, and then they'll go in the ground. Those are all things that could be seeded directly in the ground. Pumpkins and gourds would be included in that as well. Seeds come up really easily, but I have to put the seed in at the frost-free date, as opposed to I can 3 weeks before the frost-free date germinate them in here. And so the same day I'd be putting in a seed, I'd be putting in a plant that's 3 or 4 inches tall. There's obviously some advantage to that. Beans, it tends to get a little hot here in the summer, and my beans kind of burn out. So the earlier I can start getting beans off the plants, the better. Once we hit the dog days around the 4th of July, they tend to, go the opposite direction. I can put in a second crop about that time, and as the days get shorter in August, I can get some additional beans. I'll show you that later in the season. The thing I'm going to put in this week is actually some flowers. I've got some cosmos, and I've got some zinnias, and I've got some dahlias. If you're buying seeds for flowers, just read on the back of the package. This Cosmos says on the back of the package, if seeding indoors, seed 6 weeks before your frost-free date or your last frost date. And so that is about now for me, maybe 5 weeks. So I'm inside that window a little bit. I'm actually doing some sunflowers as well, and I'll probably end up doing these directly in the ground. If I do them inside though, it only takes about 2, maybe 3 weeks for these to be up enough and go in the ground. Basil is included in that as well. I'll wait on the basil because basil comes up easily from seed. I am doing some parsley inside, and so I'll go ahead and do those because those take a week or 2 longer. So that's what I'm doing this week. Is going to be flower seeds that say seed 4 to 6 weeks before transplanting outside, and any herb that says the same thing. And then, like I say, next week I'll seed the easier seeds like beans and those kinds of things. Easy for me to say, let me show you the peppers and the tomatoes, and then I'll show you the garden outside. So these are lots of different pepper varieties. I've got them labeled on the other side over there with what they are. But 2 weeks ago exactly is when they were seeded. And last week I didn't have a single one germinated on last week's update video, but now you can see lots of them have come up. Most of them have, more than one plant coming up in the cell. I'll get them thinned down to one plant once I figure out which one is the most vigorous to keep. And then down here at the bottom, you can see all the tomatoes coming up, and they are exactly 7 days ago when they went in. And pretty much every cell I can see some activity where some tomatoes are coming up, but they were done exactly a week apart, and the tomatoes have almost caught up with the peppers already. This was the first time using these LED panels, and I put them down pretty close. You can see they're not very far above those plants at all. I'll raise them up as the plants grow a little bit larger, but they've worked very, very well. I am concerned that the light is directed very much more downward than on the fluorescents. If I come up in here, I don't know how well this will be picked up. These have reflective material on the inside, and it's angled. And so I'm comfortable turning this tray sideways, even though part of the tray is not directly under it. You see how it sticks out a little bit? I'm getting plenty of light here. This, you can see on this tray is a good example. The ends of the tray, each end of the tray got a little bit bigger, so they stretched a little bit more. They weren't getting quite as much light, but they're still super nice plants. They got plenty of light. They didn't stretch out too badly. The ones in the middle did stay a little more compact, but I really feel like down here on these LEDs that I cannot turn the flat sideways. I don't think there's enough light being thrown out from the edges to have the tray be wider than the light. So I'm just putting those trays sideways. So this is the big progress from this week. You're gonna hear lots and lots of birds out here because it's 65 degrees today and they're very excited about it. Here's the peas right here, and I hope you can see this fencing right here. This is a pea fence. It's just a foldable pea fence. I plant the peas along the base of it and then I'll train them up. I've got them planted pretty close together along there, about 3 inches apart, and that'll be fine. I'll get them trained up onto that fence over time. These are my little greenhouse hoops. I've made videos on how to build these little greenhouse hoops, and this is I've got this netting going around it that you should be able to see a little bit to keep the rabbits and things out. All this will come down actually when I do my summer vegetables, but this lettuce, the rabbits will just tear it up. Here's the spinach right in here. There's one variety of lettuce right there, and then there's a mixed variety of lettuce right in here, all leaf lettuces, and then over there there's a red lettuce and all lettuce through there. That's kale in that area. Get my finger out of there so it will focus. And then I've got broccoli over there. I'll end up having to cover the broccoli at some point to keep the moths off of them. That's just something I end up having to do. I have a frost protection blanket that I can throw over this. I don't want frost on them. Most of these things are frost tolerant, not freeze tolerant, but frost tolerant, but I'm not going to allow them to be frosted on. You can just use a sheet, a really light sheet if you have one. I'll link a frost protection blanket in the description of the video if you're interested in having one on hand. It's something that can be folded up and used every year, but it is something you should have on hand if you're trying to grow things when the chance of frost is still in effect. So everything in the bed is spaced about 6 to 8 inches apart. There's about 350 plants in here. All of these cool season vegetables are planted directly in compost. I initially put down between 6 and 8 inches of compost here, and then about every other crop I add about 2 inches of compost. The 2 inches of compost I'm able to produce on my own space here by chipping limbs and leaves and just whatever debris, and emptying flower pots and all of those kinds of things. That initial 6 or 8 inches, it would probably be very expensive to do that from bags, so I would look for a municipal source. If you live near a city, almost certainly they have a compost program where when they suck up the leaves from everybody's houses in the fall, they don't go and throw them out. They do compost them typically, and that's a very inexpensive way. I'm going to go over to the Raleigh Municipal Waste Center at some point and show you. They have a compost program and a mulch program and material and leaf mold that you can get and use for all different kinds of projects. And leaf mold makes great mulch. I mean, it's nature's mulch, leaves dropping from trees. It works great for keeping weeds down and everything else. And J.C. Ralston Arboretum, where you see me take a lot of photos from, they actually mulch with leaf mold, the entire place. And it's an inexpensive choice for them if they were going to mulch the acres and acres and acres that they have of display gardens and trial gardens. It would just cost them tens of thousands of dollars. So they're doing it with the city's leaf mold. I think maybe with the city's leaf mold, or maybe they have some sort of program on their own. Maybe I'll go and ask questions there at some point about how they're doing that. But there are more inexpensive choices, especially, like I say, if you live near a city. I would go, there will be some trash in it. Anytime I've ever gotten any kind of mulch or compost from the city of Raleigh's municipal waste facility, people don't clean their trash completely out of that material, so you will have to pick some things out. I made the mistake well, it wasn't a mistake. I got chipped up Christmas trees one year as mulch out here. So it was like February or March. I'm mulching my yard with chipped up Fraser fir Christmas trees. There was some ornaments and things that had managed to stay in it as well. So I had a very shiny yard. I was picking things out for a little while, but no big deal. I saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, literally. Probably saved $500 that year mulching. So it wasn't too bad picking out a few pieces of trash out of it. But anyway, these are planted directly in compost, and then I use some garden tone on top of that. You don't have to fertilize. Planting these leafy greens directly in compost and a small amount of organic fertilizer will be fine. And I've got more plants than I could ever eat anyway. And I'm going to plant those salad bowls tomorrow, and I'll show you that. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and next week I'll put up another update video. Thanks for watching.